How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to XP Corner. My name's Luke and welcome to our very first Steam Early Access highlight review. The first of many, hopefully, in a series of videos in which we showcase to you, the viewers, some of the most interesting and exciting upcoming Steam games. On the cards today though, I have for you Death Must Die, a brand new upcoming survivors-like in which you descend into the nether in search of Death himself. But this is one that aims to blend the roguelike survival elements of Vampire Survivors with the god boons of Hades and equipment hunting of Diablo. Three systems which function fantastically well on their own, but how well do they work when Frankenstein together? Well, it turns out surprisingly well, actually. Now, bear in mind that this one is of course still in early access, so the amount of gameplay on offer is still a little limited, but there's still plenty to get stuck into right now. And the developers have already put together a roadmap showcasing some additional upcoming features, including an Xmas surprise in the next couple of days, and an announcement for Act 2 in Q1 of 2024, which introduces a new location, new god and new character class, as well as a bunch of new items and enemies. To give you an idea of what you can expect from Death Must Die and why you should be playing it, let's get into some of the gameplay and take a look at some of the mechanics and how it actually plays. Now, you start the game in the hub area, and to begin with you only have one class available to you, that being Avron the Knight, a heavily armoured melee character who specialises in defence but has a very short attack range. As you complete or fail runs though, new characters will appear, making the treacherous mountain climb to the gates of Death's realm to join you on your quest to defeat him. And each of these brings their own unique playstyles and set of perks known as signs, which are unlocked through completing specific achievements in runs, such as defeating a certain number of enemies or beating certain bosses. So there are currently 5 characters to choose from, 4 being melee classes and 1 ranged, that being Maris the Mage, who shoots out fireballs and is currently my favourite class to play as. But getting into the runs themselves, the game currently has both mouse and keyboard and controller support on Steam, and you move your character with the WASD keys or left thumbstick and can perform basic attacks in any direction by either clicking the left mouse button or pushing the right thumbstick in a certain direction. And you can also perform a dash in your direction of travel with either the spacebar or the right trigger on the controller. That though is about it so far as combat controls go, and the only other thing you have to worry about is picking stuff up or interacting with things by clicking them with the mouse or pressing the A button on the controller and opening your inventory to equip and swap out gear, but overall it keeps things nice and simple. Now, like I said, the format of this one is very much in the same vein as Vampire Survivors, in that each run consists of a 20-minute survival gauntlet against a constant stream of enemies, which grow in numbers and strength as the time goes on, and it's your job to simply survive until you hit the 20-minute mark. But throughout your run you'll be exploring a never-ending arena which is randomly generated, offering up various shrines for you to interact with, which offer additional passive perks or heal you for a set amount, or opening chests and tombs which can be looted for gear. Now when it comes to enemy variety, the game is a little limited right now, with there being only 9 basic enemies in the game, 3 sub-bosses and 1 final boss. And like Vampire Survivors, these appear at set time intervals with every passing minute, so you always know what's coming next and how you need to prepare. Despite the limited enemy pool though, there's some nice variety to the mechanics and movement patterns of them, and there's still a decent level of challenge on offer. You have a mixture of melee and ranged enemies to deal with, and the bosses in the game are fairly tough to start with set attack patterns for you to master, though a decent boon setup can of course see you take them down fairly quickly. But you're locked into an arena of sorts when you fight these bosses, which slowly shrinks around you, further limiting your play area, and the run will end when you either lose all of your health and die, or when you reach the 20-minute mark and defeat the final stage boss. Throughout my 15 or so hours of playtime though, I've so far managed to beat the final boss on all but one character, and while things have gotten a little easier now that I've nailed down some powerful boon combinations and got a decent selection of gear under my belt, I'm still very much enjoying the experience. It hasn't felt overly repetitive to me. There's still that drive to keep on diving into runs to obtain more powerful gear and discover new boon combinations, and I've also unlocked the Star Crux, which allowed me to increase the difficulty of my runs by boosting the stats of enemies and bosses, which in turn increases the rarity of items that drop. Now getting back into the gameplay mechanics, when it comes to the gods and boons, whenever you kill an enemy there's a chance that an XP shard will drop, which you'll then need to collect in order to level up. And upon doing so, you'll be approached by one of 9 different gods, each of which offers a random selection of boons for you to choose from. But you can only choose one of these per level, and are limited to taking boons from 3 different gods in any one run. These boons can either modify your basic attack and dash maneuvers, provide passive upgrades, or in the case of active abilities, trigger automatically at set intervals. And each god has a distinct theme to the boons. For instance, Summer, the god of fire, has boons centered around burning enemies or dealing damage over time. The god Winter chills enemies and freezes them solid with blasts of ice. Mort, the god of death, has boons centered around raising skeletons and ravens which curse enemies or drain the life force. And Time focuses on increasing your XP gain, warping reality to slow down enemies, or even cheat death, giving you the ability to respawn. As you level up though, you'll be selecting new boons or upgrading existing ones, and there are currently 4 different rarities for each boon, each having more powerful effects than the previous, and certain equipments provide dice which can be used to banish, re-roll or alter your boon selections. All in all though, there are some great synergies to be had between the different gods, and some of the boons operate differently depending on your selected character, but there are definitely a few that currently stand out and feel somewhat overpowered within them, and overall they offer a decent amount of variety, though currently not quite as much as some other Survivors likes I've played. Now your chances of actually getting higher rarity boons is generally down to your character's stats, and these are determined by the kind of gear you've got equipped. And like I said, gear can be obtained from either looting chests or tombs, or alternatively as random drops from enemies or guaranteed drops from bosses, but you can also buy them in the in-game shop, which we'll get onto in a moment. Once again though, gear comes in 4 different rarities, each having more powerful stats than the previous, and these can affect everything from your attack and defensive stats, your luck rating, which affects your chance to proc stats effects or obtain higher rarity perks and items, as well as things like passive XP gain, life gained when you hit or kill an enemy, and the distance at which you can absorb XP tokens from, amount of pickups and gold that drop, and finally the number of dice you have available to banish, reroll or alter your boon selections. Now certain pieces of gear can only be equipped on certain characters, and once you equip something it's then locked to that character. But between runs you'll also have access to your stash where you can store equipment for later use, as well as the shop where you can sell unwanted gear and spend your hard earned gold to buy new gear, with it selling a random selection of equipment and restocking between runs. The gearing mechanics add a whole new chase factor to the game though, and once you've unlocked all of the characters and completed all of their achievements to unlock the different perks, the replayability in this one really comes from bumping up that difficulty factor using the Star Crux and repeatedly completing runs in the hopes of obtaining those godlike gear drops. And there are already some unique drops in the game which offer a chance to activate unique abilities, but like I said, there are new levels coming, new tiers of gear coming, and no doubt more unique items will also be added in Act 2, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what they have in store for us with these. Overall though, my experience thus far with Death Must Die has been an extremely positive one, and it helps that I'm a big fan of all of the games that this has taken influence from. But even in this early access version, the game definitely shows a lot of potential. There's plenty of depth to its mechanics and plenty of room to grow with them. The combat mechanics are solid and the enemies offer a more engaging gameplay experience when compared to the simplicity of something like Vampire Survivors, and I didn't encounter any technical issues, so it's a fully functional game and pretty well put together. As is to be expected though, the only thing that is lacking is the amount of content currently on offer. But like I said, there's still plenty to get stuck into, and even at this point, the asking price offers phenomenal value for money at around £6 or about $8 if you're in the US, so well worth it in my opinion, and a definite must play for fans of survival-likes or of roguelikes in general for that matter. With that said though, that about does it for this early access showcase of Death Must Die. So what did you think? Is this one that you're going to be checking out, or is it one that you've already given a go, and how did you find it? Let us know down in the comments section below, and be sure to drop your own recommendations for upcoming Steam games that you'd like to see us showcase in future. Until next time though, as always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Thanks everyone, take care.